Steve Surwitz said, and I quote, "I did invest 30 million and paid for her salary, or at least my share of it, as well as the other actors. And I consider that to be essential. Miss Lively considers that not to be essential. She can send me a check. I can give her an address, or you could give it to her. Beyond that, I was not on the set of the scene." They really tried to play with Steve Surwitz, and he reminded them, "I'm the only billionaire in this room." I wonder if Blake was sitting there. Do you think she was sitting there, Bachi?
I want to believe that. Actually, I would like to believe that Ryan was, but
we're going to find out more and some. Let's get into it.
F around and find out.
Hello there, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of F Around and Find Out. I'm your host, Elsie, and apparently I have a co-host now, and her name is Bachi. But Bachi, today we get into Steve Surwitz's deposition. How excited are you?
I'm so excited. It's honestly one of my favorite depositions I've ever read. And his is really long.
It is. It's 68 pages.
Yeah.
And it's good.
It's worth it.
That there is a dull moment in there. I'm going to preface this by saying my child is having a moment and he's screaming in the back. And so if he screams, I'm not going to edit it out because I cannot let you miss parts of this deposition. So if you hear a scream of a 6-year-old, ignore it. You, Steve, or are you the lawyer? Who do you want to be?
Oh, my word. I feel like you'll be more spicy as Steve. So I think it's more proper for you to be Steve because I feel like you give the
So I'll pick it up on page 48, Ms. Garofalo, Steve Surwitz's deposition. Again, other than advice you may have been provided by attorneys, you can answer.
I'm not asking for your conversations with your lawyers. As you sat in the boardroom as a board member, I imagine a proposal was presented. It's a serious proposal. It meant shutting down an organization that I imagine you'd given a lot of time and money to. And all I'm trying to ask is why you decided to do that.
One of the deciding factors was death threats against both me and my family as a result of this litigation.
And as a result of those threats, sorry, what else did you want to say?
And arson in my house.
And that informed the decision to shut down the foundation in what way?
You were asking me about my personal opinion, correct?
I was asking you about why you made the decision to support closing the foundation.
Well, as I said before, the board made the decision, and then you asked me about then we jumped to page 52.
Have those threats been made to your knowledge against other employees, directors? Let's start with employees. Are you aware of any threats that have been made to employees of the foundation?
There was a threat made to the foundation itself.
And what was that threat?
I don't recall the exact threat, but I remember we had to get security, and it was during the course of this litigation where I want to say this very clearly. Anti-Semitism was weaponized against me and anything I was associated with, even though I'm a Baha'i, and it was weaponized violently and purposefully. And as someone who lost 20 members of my family in the Holocaust and was beaten up for being Jewish when I was a kid, lost my great-grandfather, whom I'm named after, I don't appreciate that. And I want to go on the record as saying that religious prejudice has no place in America.
And I appreciate all that. And I am deeply sorry that occurred. I'm also a descendant of Holocaust survivors. And so I don't appreciate it either. I understand the link between the threats that you received and your decision respecting the foundation. I think I understand you to be saying that the link in this is this threat that the foundation itself received. Am I understanding you correctly?
In addition to the personal threats, in addition to the death threats and kidnapping threats and arson against my family, the foundation also received a threat as a direct result of this litigation because of the action taken by the people within this litigation, which were purposefully leveled against me and my family.
As a direct result, that anti-Semitic threats against you and the Wayfair Foundation, you said, I think you just testified, are direct results of actions taken by people in this litigation?
Objection. The witness answers yes.
By which people?
I don't know who authorized it, but I know it was done by someone on the other side.
What was done by someone on the other? No cliffhanger. Cliffhanger. I hate the cliffhanger because we know. I can't say what I want to say, Elsridge, because I don't want any smoke. Wink, wink. If I
get what you're putting down.
If you can pick up what I'm putting down, little pyro.
No, we jumped to page 98 for God's sake. Jesus.
I hate it. That doesn't surprise you.
No, it does not.
You're the financier of Wayfair Studios.
They misspelled that, but
I
yes.
know, Miss. I was thinking the same thing.
Yes.
Your co-founder.
Yes.
Is Wayfarer Studios an LLC?
I believe so.
Who are the members?
I don't recall.
Who are the shareholders?
Objection. The major shareholders are Justin and myself.
Do you know what the, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Did you have something else you wanted to say? Okay. Do you know what the ownership percentages are as of, let's start with today, between you and Mr. Baldoni?
Not exactly.
Do you have a rough estimate? My question first.
I don't recall.
You don't recall saying that? Do you dispute saying that?
Objection. No.
Do you recall giving an interview that is on YouTube entitled Billionaire Steve Sarwitz on Wealth, Philanthropy, and Ethical Success in August of 2024?
Yes.
Do you recall saying about Mr. Heath that you could pull rank on him because it's your money in October of 2024?
I don't recall the exact content.
Okay, is that true?
Is what true?
That the money in Wayfarer Studios is your money?
Yes.
And is it true that that, in effect, allows you to pull rank on Mr. Heath if you choose to do so?
That's too broad. Then we jump to page 120. Oh my God.
The truth about Baldoni and Wayfarer, his lawyer says he was barely involved with the film. Besides providing the funding, he only visited the set twice and was not involved in the PR for the film. Do you see that?
Yes.
Is all of that accurate?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Could you ask me specifically? Are you asking me specifically about the statement that we provided, or are you asking me about the previous thing? Could you tell me if what you're asking me is accurate?
Fair clarification. Is everything after through his lawyer accurate?
Can you read specifically the words? Because I want to make sure this is a very important point.
Is it accurate that you were barely involved with the film besides providing its funding?
Yes.
Is it accurate that you only visited the set twice?
Yes.
Is it accurate that you were not involved in the PR for the film?
Yes.
And that was all of the information that was provided in response to this third allegation. Is that right?
I don't recall.
In other words, you don't see here anywhere that it's actually false that I provided input and ideas on ways to negatively influence the narrative against Miss Lively. That's not true. You don't see that anywhere in here, do you?
It's implied very strongly by this answer by saying I'm not involved with the PR, that I would not, since I wasn't involved with the PR, which is correct, that I would not have provided ideas. Also, we never did a smear campaign.
So it's implied strongly. That's your testimony, right?
It's my testimony that I never gave any input on ideas on ways to negatively influence the narrative against Miss Lively and her family. It's my testimony that I never did that then or now.
Never.
Correct.
Even after litigation was commenced.
Correct.
How do you define negatively?
Objection from Ms. Garofalo. Steve Sarwitz responds, it's my testimony that the sole intent was to use my money to promote the truth about Baldoni and Wayfarer.
So if I were to take out the word negatively from this sentence and ask you, did you ever provide input and ideas on ways to influence the narrative? And then I modify against and have it be about, let me read it the way I'm modifying it. And then I will ask you the question, did you ever provide input and ideas on ways to influence the narrative about Miss Lively and her family?
Objection from Ellen Garofalo. Steve Sarwitz responds, no.
You never provided any ideas about ways that the media narrative about Mr. Reynolds could be influenced at any time.
I don't recall.
Do you want to spend a minute and think about it?
There was one time that I suggested that we should point out, after Miss Lively had said that Ryan Reynolds rewrote a scene, that we should point out that that was a scene written by a female writer. That was the sole time I remember.
And why did you point that out?
I don't recall.
What influence would it have in coverage of the dispute to point out that it was a female writer?
Objection by Ellen Garofalo. Steve responds, I don't know.
Really?
Objection.
That's really your testimony as you sit here today. You really don't know why it would have mattered if there had been coverage that followed the suggestion that you made.
Objection again from Ellen. Steve responds, I don't know what the... Of course, they cut us off. I hate this so bad. We jump to page 126.
Has made on It Ends With Us by Q2 2025. How would I figure that out?
I don't know.
You really cannot think of a single piece of paper or document or file I could look at that would tell me that.
Objection from Ellen. Steve responds, I'm not involved in the day-to-day running of Wayfair. I imagine you could talk to Wayfair management and ask them.
No one ever provided any kind of a report to you in the ordinary course of your duties and responsibilities as the co-chairman of the studio that told you how much money this movie made?
I don't recall.
Do you recall giving interviews in which you talked about how much money the movie made opening weekend?
Yes.
Do you recall how much?
No.
Do you recall it being more than you anticipated?
Yes. And then we jump again, for Christ's sake. At least we answered that question. To page 137, and Steve responds, yes.
And that is I'd imagine, genuine sentiment you were expressing to Mr. Baldoni.
Yes.
And you recall being very proud of the success of this movie in its opening days, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you say, as read, your interviews have been sterling. Do you see that text?
Yes.
Had you been watching some of Mr. Baldoni's press interviews in connection with the release of the film?
Yes.
And you thought they were sterling?
Yes.
Did you participate in any respect in any of the preparation in advance of Mr. Baldoni's interviews?
No.
Did you yourself did some interviews in the first couple weeks that the film was released? Is that right?
Can you be more specific?
Sure. Did you do any media interviews in conjunction with the release of It Ends With Us? So, you know, let's call it the first couple of weeks of August 2024.
Not specifically.
Did you do any media interviews that occurred around that time?
Yes.
And did you prepare for those interviews with the assistance of any people in advance of your interviews?
Sorry, I'm not trying to hesitate. I'm just trying to remember. Not really.
Did you ever receive any kind of talking points or briefing materials in advance of the media interview you were doing in the first 2 weeks of August 2024?
Not that I recall.
Did you ever discuss with Mr. Baldoni in advance of doing the interviews that you did what might be asked and what you might say?
Yes.
Okay, I will come back to that. Okay, who did you ask?
Ask what?
Who did you ask the question to? Did we have any idea that this would be promoted this way?
I never asked.
You never asked anyone that question?
Correct.
Okay, did you ever review any of the marketing materials for the film that were created by Wayfarer Studios?
No.
Did you ever review any of the marketing materials for the film that were created by Sony?
No.
Have you ever seen any marketing materials of any kind about the film that were created or influenced or edited by Miss Lively?
I was not involved in the marketing.
And so therefore you would have no way of knowing whether Miss Lively had any involvement at all in how the film was marketed.
I was told that Miss Lively and Sony took over the marketing by Jamie.
Would it surprise you to learn that every document that has been produced in this case that cliffhanger?
I hate the cliffhangers. All right. Either way, they jump us to page 152.
Paying for the PR teams. That's you loving me, and I appreciate you.
Yes.
Was Wayfarer paying for the PR teams?
I don't know the details. I just literally don't.
Would you have to approve that before Wayfarer hired a PR team?
No.
And in this case, you're aware that the agency group was retained to perform crisis communication services. Is that correct?
Yes, for the reasons I've already stated. I can go through them again if you'd like.
Well, that's not my question. Did you approve the hiring of the agency group?
No.
Were you asked your opinion on it before they were retained?
No.
Did you vet that agency group before they were retained?
No.
Did you have any conversation with Miss Melissa Nathan before they were retained?
No.
How about street relations? Are you familiar with street relations?
Yes.
Where did you go? Okay. You are aware that street relations was at one point retained by Wayfarer.
Yes.
Were you asked for your view on that retention?
I don't recall.
Did you approve, or sorry, strike that. Did you speak with Jed Wallace, the head of street relations, before street relations was retained?
I don't recall.
Do you recall anything about the retention of street relations?
They were retained in regards to, actually, let me change my answer. No, I was not consulted before they were hired. I just had to remember.
Okay, what did you just remember?
I just remembered when they were hired because at that point I was not involved in the day-to-day.
Okay, so when were they retained?
I believe, I'm not 100% sure, sometime around August of 2024.
And how?
I wasn't involved in that decision.
How do you recall learning about that?
I don't recall.
What do you recall learning about street relations?
Not 100% sure because we've been through this case for, I guess it's been a year now that we've gone through this. And so there's been a lot that's been reported. So in my memory, it may be a little bit confused. But to my knowledge now, I'm not sure if I knew it then. Street Relations was monitoring the negative press against us that was being put out by the Lively camp.
What does that mean, monitoring?
Helping with our crisis PR.
So what does it mean to monitor social media or PR or press?
Hold on, objection. And then we jump to 169.
Made about you that you believe to be defamatory.
Again, sorry, I'm just trying to get clarification. I'm not trying to be difficult. During the course of the complaint or as part of the complaint, would that be considered, since that was public in the New York Times and Miss Lively was the source of that statement, would that count?
That's for you to tell me.
Would that, why don't you answer from Ellen Garofalo? Why don't you answer the question with what you believe she publicly said through the New York Times? Steve then goes on to answer my favorite part. Okay. Through the New York Times, in the course of the complaint, it was said that I was on set for a scene where she was scantily clad and that I was a non-essential person. While I may have technically been non-essential, I invest 30 million George Washington Benjamin Franklin US dollars and paid, that's all me, and paid for her salary, or at least my share of it, as well as the other actors, and I consider that to be essential. I think right there he meant if Miss Lively considers that not to be essential, she can send me a check. Steve, the man that you are, I can give her an address, or you could give it to her. That was crazy. That's what we're trying to figure out. Is she sitting there while he says this or not?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like he is.
Yeah.
I mean, she is there with the way he's saying it, but then you can only address it maybe to the lawyer. So he has to say it that way, maybe, even if she's like staring him down.
I feel like it would be so much better if she was there.
I hope she was.
But beyond that, I was not on set for that scene. And although I don't have direct, God.
It does stuff. I want to say this right now. I was doing a live and someone brought up that there's a particular, I guess, I don't know if she's an actress or whatever, but that she was saying that that Steve Sarwitz felt like he could see Blake Lively's scantily clad body because he pays 30 million. And I was like,
God.
Stop.
You
have literally missed here's the point, and you literally missed it. His point was, I don't want to ever see your body. That was his point. And the fact that you tried to defame me by saying that I wanted to see your body.
That's crazy.
No, I never wanted to see it.
And the crazy thing is he was on set that day, but he wasn't there for the filming of that scene.
Mm-hmm.
He was on set after that scene was shot. He just happened to be there that day. Yeah. And they're running with this whole, he came to set the day I was scantily clad and he wanted to see. Nobody wants to see your parts, Blake.
Yeah. I mean, basically he's like, you're not that important. And I think she probably finds that more offensive. The way that they're twisting this genius of a line of the 30 million, if you don't think I'm essential. Yeah.
They're messing it up for all of us. That's my favorite thing ever.
It's one of my favorite lines, and they're trying to make it all dirty.
But can I just
they're like mini Blakes.
I know, but I love how much Steve Sarwitz loves to remind Blake and her husband that, like, if you want to really play this money game, I'm your daddy. I am literally your daddy. I have more money than you. If you really want to go toe to toe, bank for bank, M for M's, billion for you don't even have billions to go billion for billion. Like, bring me somebody worth fighting against. Like, I could really, really, really do this if you want to. I love the way he talks to them. Like, and I feel like, and I said this to you privately, he would not talk to a typical person like that or deal with them. But to them, he's like, since you have no respect for anybody else, I could play that game with you. And I love that about him so much. I love it. I can't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we talked about it, remember I said, like, Justin Baldoni's over on this side where it's like super duper, like
pure,
like the purest of the pure. And then you have like Jamie Heath right stuck in the middle where it's like sweet, pure, but like, but has to say what it needs to be said. And then you got Steve here, like, look.
He was like, meet me outside.
I may be a man of faith, but I will tell you
I will
what.
throw hands. I would throw dollars. If he really wants to. I love him so much because he really doesn't have to take it if he doesn't want it. Like, I love him so much for like talking to them like peasants. You write me a check.
But you're right. I don't think he would have said that to anyone else. I think
I don't think he.
I think he found them offensive by the way they handled this situation.
I love him. I can't say it enough. He's my Kevin Fritz of this whole thing.
That's all I'm interested in is how your understanding of how you, Steve Sarowitz, were personally defamed and what she testified to in her deposition. We're going to bracket that.
Okay.
I think I understood you to say you believe that there were things in the CRD complaint and the New York Times article that you found to be defamatory about you.
Yes.
Okay, and the example that you gave of that, I believe, was an allegation about a time when it was alleged that you were on set for a scene where Miss Lively was acting out the scene of giving birth. Is that right?
Yes. I want to add one other thing to what I said.
Okay.
It was insinuated that I went on set for particularly that scene. I didn't know what scenes were being filmed. Again, I wasn't on set for that scene, but I did not. It was insinuated that I went on set for that particular scene. Of course, like I said, I wasn't on set for that particular scene. And I also made no conscious decision to see Miss Lively in any particular thing because it wasn't important to me.
Were you on that set that day that scene was shot?
Yes.
And how do you know that?
I didn't know it at the time. I was told later in conversation with someone who was there that, oh yeah, that set was that scene. Because I said, what about that scene? Oh, that was filmed before you got on set.
And there would be records, right, that would show that you traveled to New Jersey. Is that right?
Yes.
And those travel records would presumably show us when you arrived and when you left.
I assume so.
Do you have a calendar or diary that you keep? My diary, I mean, but by diary, I mean a calendar. Do you keep a calendar?
I do, but it wouldn't specifically say which scenes I was there for.
But wouldn't the calendar have for another cliffhanger?
Why do they keep doing this? I'm going to call that phone number down there, that 516, and ask for the rest of this.
If only it were that easy.
Like, hey, can I have page whatever that was? Oh my God. All right, we pick it up 177.
Okay. And then would the same be true for intentional negligent interference with prospective economic advantage? Not about you personally?
I'm not as certain on that one. I'd have to know more on that one. I'd have to know more on that one. I'd need more detail. The other one, no. That one, possibly.
As you sit here today, what is your understanding of the factual basis for intentional and negligent interference with prospective economic advantage against, for example, let's start with Mr. Reynolds.
And the reason I'm hesitating is I'm not sure where Wayfair ends and I start. I don't know why the lawyers sued the way they did. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not really an expert on the law, but I can talk about damages done to Wayfair, of which I'm the majority owner. And that would have a negative economic advantage to me as an individual. I don't know that if that's what you're asking me.
Okay, I'm going to pause here for a millisecond because I realized that this is probably part of the reason they did the whole redaction for the new sanctions thing. They're trying to give this hint of like, see, he just sued for no good reason. And I think this is giving a hint of that.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not asking you questions about damages to Wayfair. I'm talking about the claims you personally raised. But
trying to be calm about this, but it's very annoying.
Very.
Very annoying. All right, 183. Steve answers yes.
And is the document that follows this that begins on page 34943, to the best of your knowledge, the Wayfair Studios employee handbook?
Yes.
And you're familiar with this document, right? Your name is on the first cover page of this at 34943.
I'm not familiar with every detail. A lot of times I will sign things as a high level. I'm not involved in the day-to-day, but I'd be familiar that there is the document.
Okay, so you see on page 34943, the first page of the document after the text. So the first page of the attachment.
Yes.
Do you see that on that page at the top, it says as read, so glad you've joined us. And at the bottom, it's signed as read, Steve Sarowitz and Justin Baldoni, co-chairman.
Yes.
Okay, and there is reference here to this being the employee handbook, right?
Yes,
And do you have a recollection of signing off on maybe not every word of this, but at some point in time signing off on an employee handbook for Wayfarer Studios?
I don't recall.
Do you have any recollection of ever seeing this letter that your name is on here?
I don't recall.
If you flip through the table of contents on pages Heath 34944 through Heath 34945, have you ever looked at this? As you look through the table of contents, have you ever looked through the policies and procedures that are contained within this handbook?
No.
Okay, well, let's look through some of the policies because I think they're quite commendable. On page 4 of the document, which is Heath 34946, do you see a reference in the values to Wayfarers Studios being a Baha'i inspired organization?
It's not just anything that anyone says, but things like, for example, unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, some very specific things.
Sure.
Not just anything anyone would term. So I don't want to broadly say that anything that anyone perceives to be sexual harassment would actually be sexual harassment, but rather things as in here, a condition of an individual's employment. So in other words, that if someone were to be asked for sexual favors, or if someone were to say like is very typical in Hollywood, that would be definitely sexual harassment.
Fair enough. Mr. Sarwitz, if I worked for you and I wanted to understand what's our sexual harassment policy, I imagine you would tell me, take a look at this document, right?
Objection from Ellen Garofalo. Steve responds, I wouldn't be the one answering that question.
If you were?
Objection, Steve responds, but I wouldn't be. So it's conjecture.
Is it fair to say that if I wanted to understand what Wayfarer Studios' sexual harassment policy was, that this is the place I would look? This document is the place I would look to understand that policy.
Objection from Ellen again. Steve responds, I'm not 100% sure how it would be handled since I don't handle that day-to-day operations.
Do you understand that Wayfarer Studios policy explains that, as read, sexual harassment may include a range of subtle and not so subtle behaviors and may involve individuals of the same or different gender?
Objection from Ellen again. Steve responds, that's from our policy, correct? That's a piece of our policy. All right, we jump to 198. Steve answers yes.
Are you aware of whether anyone on the set of It Ends With Us advised Mr. Baldoni that his behavior was unwelcome?
That's too broad a topic. Can you more specifically what?
Do you know if at any time during the filming of It Ends With Us, anyone advised Mr. Baldoni that he had engaged in behavior that was unwelcome?
I just can't. It's too broad.
You don't know?
I wasn't there. I don't have any firsthand, as you said before about the other thing, I don't have firsthand knowledge. I wasn't there.
Do you have any information at all? Were you ever told that anyone told Mr. Baldoni that he had engaged in conduct that was unwelcome and a request that it be discontinued?
Objection to the extent it calls for information you learned from lawyers, in which case you were instructed not to answer. You may answer otherwise. Steve then responds, attorney privilege, and we jump to 198.
So you're saying, other than what you've learned from your attorneys, you're unaware of anything?
Correct.
Other than what you've heard from your attorneys, for example, you never had a conversation with Mr. Baldoni where he told you that someone on the set had told him that his behavior was unwelcome?
I don't recall.
Are you aware, other than what you've learned from your attorneys, whether any member of the cast or crew ever asked Mr. Baldoni to discontinue a behavior or type of conduct on the set?
Other than what I learned from my attorneys, I'm not aware of anything.
Okay, you've never seen anything from Wayfarer's own documents or your own text messages?
I don't recall.
That's
outside of what I talked to my attorneys about.
Okay, so you don't know one way or the
Yes, they're trying to say one way or the other.
Yeah.
Okay, jump to 202.
It Ends With Us.
I don't recall.
Was there ever a time, again, prior to this litigation, where you learned that someone on the set raised concerns that Mr. Baldoni's behavior was inappropriate during filming?
I'm not aware of any HR complaints that were raised or any SAG complaints that were raised by his behavior.
Well, that's an interesting way of distinguishing the question because that's precisely how your PR people talked about it to the press. So my question to you, sir, was not about HR complaints or SAG complaints.
Okay, so
My question to you was whether, and I will reread it if I can find it. My question was whether you ever became aware prior to this litigation of anyone on the set raising concerns that Mr. Baldoni's behavior during filming was inappropriate.
I don't recall.
Do you see if is it fair to say that under the Wayfarer Studios policy, the thing you want your employees to do when they feel like they have experienced this type of prohibitive behavior is promptly advise the offender that his or her behavior is unwelcome and request that it be discontinued?
Objection, you can answer. Steve says yes.
And what is supposed to happen when an individual follows that policy to the letter?
Objection, Steve responds, although I'm not responsible for this because I'm not the one actually implementing this, the behavior should stop. That would not be my individual responsibility as an individual.
But the reason the policy is written this way is because the hope is by promptly reporting it and asking for that behavior to be discontinued, whoever's doing it will stop, right?
Objection, Steve responds, I would not be personally involved, but that would be the hope. We jump to 204.
That's your understanding of the purpose of this policy, right?
Yes.
And the next section under supervisor and manager responsibility states, as read, if any supervisor or manager becomes aware of a violation of this policy, they are obligated to report the violation to Human Resources Management so Wayfarer Studios can investigate and, if appropriate, take corrective action. Do you see that?
Where is that at?
In the section entitled Supervisor and Manager Responsibilities.
Okay, yes.
Did you supervise or manage any people at Wayfarer Studios during the filming of It Ends With Us?
No.
Did Mr. Heath?
Yes. We jump to 210, of course. Why not?
Before Ms. Garofalo was your lawyer, right?
Yes.
You learned about that completely independently of anything that could fall within an attorney-client privilege because you learned about it in 2023, right?
Objection, Steve responds, not completely independently.
You know, in 2023 that Miss Lively's legal team had sent a list of protections for return to production, and you talked about it with Mr. Baldoni, didn't you?
I'm trying to answer this honestly, so give me a second to describe what I think of that list. I love that.
Please, Steve, please tell them. Please tell them exactly what you feel.
Let me tell you how I really feel. I believe that Miss Lively sent a list of things that she insinuated we did, which we never did. And that forced us basically, after millions of dollars were invested in a movie, to sign a list of things that we would do no more, that were never done, as a ploy to take over the movie, which she eventually did. So yes, I believe that Miss Lively did send a list of demands for her return to work. And we did sign the list, but when we signed it with the understanding that we did not agree that we had actually done those things.
What did you do? Since you're stating with some amount of conviction that the actions described in that list did not occur and were, as you just said, a ploy, what did you do to satisfy yourself that that wording is odd?
Wording is
Gottlieb,
crazy.
It took me out a little bit. That's a weird way to phrase it.
Satisfy yourself.
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
Why would you use that? That's a trap. Okay, but I'll say it again. That's a trap.
Yeah.
As you just said, a ploy. What did you do to satisfy yourself that what you just said is factual?
Objection from Ellen Garofalo.
How did you satisfy yourself that those behaviors or activities or compliance or whatever you would like to call them did not occur? I see what you're doing, Mike.
As I've stated previously, the two main things that she said about me are complete or partial lies. That is my direct experience. She accused me of being at a scene, which I was not at. She said she was scantily clad. An actor who was on the set with her testified she was not, publicly testified she was not scantily clad. And then throughout the course of this case, the evidence has come out that much of what she said was not true or partially true or twisted to make it seem worse. For example, she said that Justin said,
Okay. Wayfarer Studios will maintain appropriate documentation and tracking to ensure that reasonable progress is made.
Yes.
Did that happen with respect to what occurred on set and it ends with us?
Objection. Steve responds, the two ways that a formal complaint would, I'm not aware of any formal complaints, of any formal reports of any allegations being made either to, as I mentioned before, either to SAG or to HR.
So your answer is you're not aware of any investigation of this type referenced on the document with the dates number 34949 taking place.
I'm not aware of any reported allegations.
What's a formal report?
Typically, again, I'm not an expert on this. I don't manage sets, but what I've been told and what I've learned through the course of this case is that the two options, if there was we jump to page 217, favors verbal abuse of a sexual nature, commentary about an individual's body, sexual prowess, or sexual deficiencies. Yes.
Also, as read, sexual jokes and innuendos, leering, whistling, or touching, insulting or obscene comments or gestures, display in the workplace of sexually suggestive objects or pictures, and other physical, verbal, or visual conduct of a sexual nature. Is that a good description of what can constitute sexual harassment under Wayfarer's policy?
That's what the policy says.
Do you have any knowledge of whether any conduct of that type occurred on the set of It Ends With Us?
I have no knowledge of any of that.
Okay, you don't know one way or the other.
I have no knowledge of any of that ever occurring. It's my belief that none of that ever occurred on set.
Okay.
I have no direct knowledge.
So if an investigation is not conducted and if an employee believes their complaint is not resolved, what does the policy say the employee or covered person should do?
Ellen Garofalo objects. Do you need time to read the policy? Steve responds, can you point me to that?
Take a look at the section that says violations of this policy.
Okay, got it.
So, do you see the paragraph that begins with employees? If employees believe their complaint is not resolved, do you see that?
So what you're saying is if anything actually occurred, Ellen says, take a minute. Steve says, yeah, so I should. Ellen says, and read it, and then you can respond. We jump to 221, for God's sake.
Mr. Baldoni?
I'm not aware of any complaints that were not resolved.
Complaints describing unwelcome behavior?
I'm not aware of any complaints that were not resolved.
Okay.
And can I answer a little bit more?
Sure.
I believe that after there are no further complaints after the 17 points. So even after very early on in filming, I was not aware of any complaints, and I'm not aware of any written complaints, any HR complaints. I'm not aware of any unresolved complaints.
Okay, are you?
I know that there was insinuated, but I am not aware of any unresolved complaints.
Are you aware of any investigation that took place into any conduct that took place on the set of It Ends With Us prior to this litigation?
I am not aware of any complaints that necessitated an investigation prior to this investigation.
So the answer to my question is no.
Jump to 224.
Investigated and addressed. Do you see that?
Yes.
And we've already established that there was no investigation of any kind prior to the initiation of litigation in this case. Is that correct?
I'm not aware of any event that would facilitate or require an investigation. So as I said before, I'm not aware of any event that would have required an investigation. And one thing I forgot to mention before is that we had talked to counsel, and there was no event that they felt would require an investigation.
Who is we?
Jamie and Justin.
And
I don't really know. I wasn't involved in that conversation.
Well, how did you just remember this?
I knew about it before. I had forgotten to say it before. The counsel that also verified along with our own, just there was no need for an investigation we jumped to 230. And I think that's Steve right there. These expensive things occurred throughout the production. So when these things occurred, I can't tell you exactly when they occurred, but throughout the production, in addition to a lot of stress, in addition to the people being fired.
Why do you say, sorry, go ahead.
And this 17-point list essentially served very effectively, in my opinion, and I will give her a lot of credit for this, as essentially a knife to her throat throughout all of this, so she could get away with the crime she got away with. Damn. Damn. Body.
I thought you weren't involved in this production of the film.
Correct.
You only visited the set twice, right? Isn't that what your lawyer told Forbes?
That's what I told Forbes, and that's what I'm telling you. I only visited the set twice.
That's the truth.
That is the truth.
Well, you used the word we a lot in that speech you just gave. And so what I'm wondering is, were you involved in the production of the film, or are you in using the word we describing Wayfarer Studios?
Objection. Then Steve responds, I'm using the word we as in the entity, Wayfarer Studios, of which I'm the majority investor. Not that I was individually involved in any of the actions. Not that I have personal knowledge of any of this. Not that I was involved in any of this personally or have any individual knowledge. However, the effects have hurt me, as have hurt the company and myself as an owner of the company in that respect.
What I'm trying to get at, Mr. Sarowitz, is did you, with respect to Miss Lively's allegations and whatever label you want to give to that sort of content of the 17-point list, okay? I don't want to fight over whether they're allegations or claims or whatever they are, but the substance of what was in the 17-point list, did you know anything about the events described from firsthand knowledge?
Objection from Ellen Garofalo. Steve responds, no.
Did you know anything about what was described in that document other than what you had learned from Mr. Baldoni?
Objection from Ellen Garofalo. Steve responds, is it possible we could review the 17-point list?
We are going to get to a document in a minute. But as you sit here today, your understanding of what was happening on the set, which you have testified you weren't there every day, you visited twice, you weren't involved in the production, do you ever recall learning anything about what was going on the set other than from Mr. Baldoni?
Yes.
Okay. What else do you recall as you sit here today?
I talked to Brandon Sklenar when I was on set, and he was effusive in his praise for Justin, his directing, Wayfarer, how he had been treated in general. So I met with him personally on the day I was on set.
Which of the 2 days?
The first day I was on set.
Okay.
We jumped to 233. My own experience from that day on set was that I did not witness anything untoward, but I would have not. Again, I was only on set twice, so that's what I would know firsthand.
Okay, and so you had a conversation that you can recall from Mr. Sklenar, which was very positive about his experience.
Effusive, yes.
Effusive, your word. And you obviously had conversations along the way with Mr. Baldoni. Is there anything else you can think of as you're sitting here today that any other person from whom you might have learned information about what was happening on set?
Yes.
Who was that?
Jamie Heath.
Okay, so you had conversations with Mr. Heath during production.
Yes.
And did you talk to Mr. Heath and Mr. Baldoni by phone from time to time during production?
I don't recall, but I assume so. And then we jumped to 235. Why are you my problem child? Okay, so Steve picks up on 235, correct.
Which was the first of the 2 days that you visited the set?
Yes.
Okay, and how long would you say the interaction with Miss Lively took?
A minute or two.
Okay, anything else? I know this can be tedious, but anything else that you can think of in your head as you sit here today that informed your understanding of what had happened on set?
I'm friends with one of the actors.
Which one?
Adam Monshine.
And did you have conversation with Mr. Monshine about what was happening on set?
Nothing negative.
My question was, did you have any conversations with Mr. I think that must meant to be Monshine about what was happening on the set?
Just his experience.
And when did you talk to Mr. Monshine?
I don't recall.
Do you recall how many scenes in the movie Mr. Monshine was in?
I don't know.
Would it refresh your recollection if I told you one?
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Do you know what scene he was in?
Yes, he was in the birthing scene.
Do you know what character he played?
He played the doctor.
The doctor that sat in between Miss Lively's legs while she was giving birth. He wasn't giving birth. She wasn't giving birth.
He wasn't giving birth.
Can her lawyers also not differentiate between, oh my word, stop the madness. Can we please stop not noticing the difference between a character and an actor? Like, even the lawyer?
But like, also, where was he
What?
supposed to sit? Like,
Sorry.
where did they want him to sit? By her head while she gave birth? It's not Miss Lively. It's Lily Bloom. And where was he supposed to sit? I'm sorry. So the baby is coming from here. You wanted her to be. You wanted the doctor to be. Hey, let me see from here. Once the baby comes out, call me, and I'll come catch it. What the hell?
Where else was he supposed to be?
These people, man.
Wild. His line of questioning is out of line sometimes.
So bizarre. Down to the victim blaming to, oh my God. Steve responds, I wasn't there.
Have you seen the movie?
I have seen the movie. Can you imagine if he said no? He said, it was a trash movie,
he's like hooked up to a lie detector and he said, that is a lie.
Like, you haven't seen the movie. No. Have you seen the movie? You pick it up again?
I have seen the movie.
No, I'm
Oh,
saying,
no, sorry.
that's staying in, by the way. I'm not putting that out.
Okay, have you seen the movie?
I have seen the movie.
Is that what happens in the scene?
I don't recall.
Did you talk to Mr. Monshine before he went to act for that scene?
No.
Did you talk to him after that?
I think he thought he was going to trip him up there because Steve says he came on set after the scene was filmed. So asking him, did you talk to Mr. Monshine before he filmed that scene? If he said yes, it's like, but I thought you were in there before the film was.
I love that. Yes, I love that.
Trying to trip him up to see, like, did you talk to him before? Like, oh yeah, make sure you get a good look at Blake's hoo-ha and come tell me about it. What would he talk to him about? Did you talk to him after that? He responds, yes.
What was the nature of your conversation?
Just his experience.
And what did he talk about it?
Sounded like it was positive.
Anything specific you can recall?
No, I don't recall. Also, he confirmed my memory, which is that I wasn't there at that scene.
When did that happen?
During the course of litigation, after litigation, I just double checked and said, I wasn't there for that scene. He said, I know, I was there.
When did that conversation take place?
I don't recall.
Do you roughly do you know roughly month that would have occurred in?
I don't recall the exact month.
Do you talk to him on the phone?
Yes.
Do you recall about how long this conversation was?
No.
Did you talk to him about anything else?
I don't recall.
And so the nature of that call, to the best of your recollection, is you asked him if he had a recollection of you being present for the birth scene, and he said he did not.
I told my recollection, and again, this is going back to the call, that I told him I wasn't there for the birth scene. And am I wrong about that? And he confirmed that.
He said, yeah, you're right. You weren't there.
Correct.
Okay. Let's take a look at Exhibit 8. Exhibit 8 marked for identification. Mr. Sarowitz, you've been handed a document marked as Exhibit 8, which is a document bearing the Bates number Nathan 3767, and then an attachment that is produced in native format to this document.
It's a little small for my old eyes. I think I
also need these to read this document.
And then Garofalo says he needs a microscope.
I missed that the first time. This document is the first page of Nathan of Exhibit 7, 8.
The stenographer reporter says 8. Ellen Garofalo says, hold on, objection. I've seen a lot of evidence personally involving me and others that Miss Lively's perspective is false. And I think that word, misleading, false and misleading often, and as I've mentioned with my own personal things in the deposition, I don't like to speak to others, but I can speak to the facts. The supposed fact she said about me were either misleading or completely wrong, and I believe on purpose. For example, Miss Lively said I was going to, or I was at a scene I was not at, insinuating for the entire world that I wanted to go and see a birthing scene because she was scantily clad, which I wasn't there, but I've heard she was also not scantily clad. Given my experience with Miss Lively, my personal experience with Miss Lively, that and during her deposition, she insinuated I threatened to kill her and her husband, which I have never done. And even in the evidence that they preferred in their own complaint, it was very specific. It very specifically says I did not threaten to kill them, and I was very clear about that. but she repeated it as such. Given the misleading things she said about me, I have every reason, and given my very long-term friendship with Justin, where he has been sweet and kind to many, many people for many years, and his 19-year experience in the film industry with excellent relations with many people who I have met. Given my experience with both of them, I have reason to mistrust Miss Lively, direct reason to distrust Miss Lively, and reason to trust Justin Baldoni. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's like, let me lay it out for you. She has shown herself to be an unreliable narrator, just like Lily Bloom. Because she wrote Lily Bloom to be just like her.
All that you said that today, and I don't think she played Lily Bloom. She made Lily Bloom become her.
Mm-hmm. That's what it seemed like after reading the script. I was like, dang.
My job.
Thanks. So understood. Isn't everything you and I just talked about the reason why corporations do investigations when allegations arise?
Objection. Steve responds, as I have stated before, I'm unaware of any complaints that were lodged that would require an investigation prior to the actual CRD complaint.
Do you see a reference on the next page of this chart to May 16th, 2023? There's a description of a meeting in BL trailer regarding wardrobe concern. And then there's another. So then we leap down to page 260 and I say, questions in your testimony. Were you aware that, well, have you seen what Miss Baker or Miss Carroll testified about this meeting on the 16th?
No.
Have you talked to any recipient witnesses to that event to come to an understanding of what occurred?
No.
So for all you know, Miss Lively's description of this event could be completely accurate.
Given the lack of accuracy that I've seen by almost everything else that Blake Lively has said, clack her tea, Steve, clack her tea. I've come to doubt her veracity as a witness on almost everything she says. Given the things that I know, given all the evidence that I have seen over and over again, however, it is possible that she could be accurate on something as well.
And to figure out whether she was accurate, you'd probably want to know what the eyewitnesses to the events thought, right?
There. We have a whole legal team. And again, as I mentioned, I'm an investor in many companies. I don't get involved in the details, but the legal team is involved.
Okay, we're going to go AEO for a second.
Steve Starwood says, we're not AEO. Now we are? Okay.
In her deposition, Miss Carroll testified about this event with Mr. Heath. She said the following, as read. Blake was having body makeup done in the trailer by Vivian. We heard the door open and went, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it was Jamie at the door. I grabbed a cutting cape, which was over my chair, and held it up to try to cover her. And Blake said, whoa, don't come in. And he said, it will only take a second. And that's when all of this action was happening. He stayed in the trailer. They had a discussion and he left. And it continues.
Then we jump to 265.
Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you. No, that's okay. That's short enough. Go ahead.
Okay. Are you aware that Miss Slate had complained to Mr. Baldoni about him calling her or referring to her as sexy around May 18th, 2023?
I'm not aware of that.
At any time prior to this litigation, did you become aware of that?
No.
Did you ever become aware that Miss Slate had gone to Mr. Baldoni and said, I don't like that comment. Please stop.
I don't know the details of this incident.
Did you know that Miss Lively also around the same time complained to Mr. Baldoni about him referring to her as sexy?
I'm not aware of that.
Would you be interested in what Miss Slate, I recognize you've said you don't believe anything Miss Lively says or something to that effect, or you find her incredible. What about Miss Slate?
When he said you find her incredible, I was so confused. Like, then I realized he's using incredible as in not credible.
Uh-huh. Which I was like, I thought at first he was saying she's incredible.
Like, you mean incredible, like not credible. Jesus.
I will say before you answer this or do the slide, I finally am so excited to get a date for when the thing happened with Slate.
Things happened, yeah.
Because I'm like, Blake Lively does not provide dates for the life of her.
I would not use the word incredible.
Lacking in credibility. When I say incredible, is that a fair description of your views?
Much better.
Okay, what about Miss Slate?
I'm aware that in the course of any production that there's issues. I'm aware that Miss Slade had an issue. I'm not aware of the specifics. I'm aware that it was resolved. And to my knowledge, there was nothing else brought up. So I'm aware that, I'm aware that in the course of production that there can be issues. And I was aware that there was an issue with Miss Slate and that it was resolved.
In determining whether there were problems on the set, would it be of interest to you to know Jenny Slate's perspective on what happened that day?
Objection from Ellen. Steve responds, I believe that it will be up to a jury during the trial. In other words, I don't have time to get into every detail. I'm the chairman. I don't have time to get into every detail. I think at some point in time, I'll have time. We've had a kind of a whirlwind, 16-hour day thing with this case, in addition to the other work I do, which is quite expansive. And so I haven't had time to look in detail. At some point in time, as we get further into the trial, I may get more time to look into the details, but most likely I'm not involved with the day-to-day operations.
Would you have wanted to know if Miss Toskovic had showed you this back in August of 2024 and said, hey, just so you know, Jenny Slate had a concern that she expressed to Justin on the set? Would you have wanted to know that?
I was aware that Miss Slade had a concern and that concern was taken care of. And I was not aware that there were further concerns.
Okay, but you never talked to Miss Slate about that, I assume.
I have never talked to Miss Slade at all.
Okay.
I didn't see her at the premiere along with the other actors. I have never talked to her before or during the premiere. I've never seen her. I've never met her, never spoken to her or met her.
Have you ever read Miss Slate's testimony in her deposition in this case?
I have not.
Would you expect that Miss Slate's testimony about the sexy comment that had been made to Miss Lively would be similar or dissimilar from Miss Lively's description?
Objection from Ellen. Steve responds, I wasn't there. I don't know.
Would it matter to you?
Objection again from Ellen Garofalo. Steve responds, what would matter to me is that any problems or issues which occurred, as you mentioned, and I will repeat your words, nobody's perfect, Justin included. And if Justin said something that was inappropriate or anybody says something, because in the course of filming a film largely about sex, about a novel that has a ton of sex in it, if the word sexy was used inappropriately in that context, I would hope that would be rectified. And I understand that nobody's perfect. Expect that would be dealt with. And I was under the impression that it was dealt with and handled. We jump to 273. Steve picks up again. Problems. So I don't have enough information based on what you've told me as to how bad the problems were on set, what was done to resolve it based on the comments that you gave me.
Are you aware of a meeting that took place in New York on January 4th, 2024, that Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath attended?
I believe I've become aware of that through my attorneys.
Have you ever heard that meeting described as an ambush?
Objection to the extent that question calls for attorney-client communications. He just testified he heard it from his attorneys. You are instructed not to answer.
I'm not interested in what you may have learned from your attorneys. Did Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath ever describe that meeting to you as an ambush?
I don't recall.
Have you ever heard that meeting described as an HR complaints meeting?
Not to my knowledge, not to my recollection.
Well, why don't you turn to page 12 of the document we're in and look 5 lines down. It says page 12 at the bottom.
I got it. Just getting there.
Sorry, the Bates numbers are not on this because it was produced in its native format.
I've got this one.
It looks like we're on the same page. That one you can read without my glasses.
I can.
And if you look 5 lines down where it says Chris Surgent 1 AD during phase 2.
Yep.
Note says, as read, he was in the production planning meeting turned HR complaints meeting on January 4, 2024. Do you see that?
Who is Chris Surgent?
All I know is what is written here.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this.
Did you know that there was somebody at Wayfarer Studios who referred to the meeting that took place on January 4th, 2025 as the HR complaints meeting?
I was never aware until this very moment that it was ever referred to as that.
Okay, so I'm going to stop us right here for just a millisecond. I've said this to you before, Elsridge, but I find it incredibly curious that every version that Blake Lively has put out complaint-wise, she never said the first AD was there. The only person who acknowledged that the first AD was there was the Wayfarer parties. And I was waiting for confirmation that there was actually a first AD in the space, because I'm like, why did Wayfarer recognize it? And Blake Lively never brings it up in her complaint. And I think, even though Michael Gottlieb thinks this is the big HR complaints meeting, boom, 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 the issue is it shows that they went in there thinking it was a production planning meeting. And then it went all the way. They went left. That's
because
right.
there will be no reason for the AD to be there.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Our complaints meeting. Why would the first AD be there? Why would
she did get the first AD fired, so the original one. But I will say that I think that that's the main reason that she never acknowledged his existence, or also she might not know who he is because she doesn't think anybody is.
She probably thought it was somebody who worked for her. She probably thought it was a staff member.
She's like, who is this person?
Who is this one hanging around here?
But at the end of it all, he proves that it was an ambush by stating that he thought it was a production planning that became this.
And I think Mike Gottlieb thought he had an okie doke moment, like, oh my God, it was an HR complaint. Remember, no, we actually went for a production meeting that turned into rated.
Because if that was an HR meeting, they would have said, I walked into an HR meeting that stayed an HR meeting. Came in as a production planning meeting, became an HR complaints meeting.
But also, if it was an HR meeting, would it ever happen in your house?
Exactly.
Why would we have an HR meeting in your house?
Why is everything at the house?
Why are we not having this in an office setting? Where's your counsel?
Yep.
You know, your counsel that
where's
you
HR?
Where's HR?
Where's SAG?
Where's SAG? Where are the people you made drop the 17 point, 30 point, whatever? Where are they?
Where
are they to ensure we sign here, sign there, sign there? Where are they? Nowhere to be found. Why is your husband reading?
And let's not forget that she literally sends a text message or an email to Justin Baldoni on December 28 and says, I would be happy to have just you. Jamie Heath has his own accusations.
Yep.
If this was an HR meeting to deal with HR stuff, why are you okay?
Justin coming alone.
And why are you okay with the man who sexually harassed you to go to your house?
Oh, not only why is Justin coming alone, why wouldn't you want witnesses there if you were coming to berate him or make sure that, why wouldn't you have like real higher ups there to confirm this happened, to make sure somebody knows about your complaint? Why are you having him come in just your house with just you and your husband?
It's weird. I wonder what they would have had planned for him.
And I've said this 100 times. It's a completely different conversation if he goes alone. If he goes alone, they could say anything happened at the house.
Yes.
They could say he grabbed her. They could say he did anything, and he would have no recourse.
Yeah. I'm so glad he didn't trust her by that point. Because when she's like, it's up to you if you want to bring like Todd and Ange and Alex, and he immediately sends over and like Alex, Todd, and Chris will be with me. And then I'm glad that Alex then forwarded it to Jamie and to Ange.
Yeah.
I'm glad he had all those backup. Now, the interesting thing is the original one, her original 17-point side agreement that was written, the original 30-point document that was written had stated who she wanted there, right? But when her lawyers got a hold of it, right, they're like, you got to say representative, you can't say Ryan, and also existing producers. Well, there's like 5 producers, okay? Yeah. So how did they know to not bring the other producers?
Other ones.
Well, they knew because in her original version, she must have communicated that these are the only people she wants there producer-wise. Yeah. But there's a whole lot more producers. Why didn't Steve Sarwis come as an executive producer? How come, Colleen Hoover didn't come on this meeting? You know what I'm saying? There's so many other folks that could have been at this meeting.
And I think they were really hoping he showed up alone.
And they knew that it would work on him. And we know that because Jen Abel says when Justin Baldoni realizes that Ryan Reynolds blocks him on May 17th, she says they're doing this because they know it would work on him. It will
work, yeah. I was never aware until this very moment that was ever referred to as that.
Let's mark another document.
Exhibit 9 for the record. Exhibit 9 is marked for identification. And Steve says, and I'm unaware of any HR complaints that were filed.
Mr. Sarwitz, you've been handed what's been marked as Exhibit 9. Exhibit 9 is a document bearing the Bates numbers Heath 35492 through Heath 35493. This is a text message exchange on May 28th, 2023 between Mr. Heath and Mr. Baldoni. You can take a minute to take a look.
I got it.
Okay, and Mr. Sarwitz, we just looked at the chart that had references to Miss Slate and Miss Lively and the sexy comments occurring between the first date we looked at was around May 11th, and then the last date was around record. The time is 5:03 p.m.
Ellen Garofalo says, okay, sorry, I'm going to withdraw my objections. We've clarified the issue and you can proceed with your questions on Exhibit 10.
All right. So, Mr. Sarwitz, you testified earlier today, I think, but you'll correct me if I get this wrong, that you had lost a significant amount of money on the film as a result of what you believe to be Miss Lively's conduct. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you put a dollar amount on that, what you thought you had lost.
Millions. I couldn't put an exact dollar. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't done it because I just looked at it as something I was not ever going to go after her for.
And you said you were going to go after her for other things?
You asked me a question as to the things I was upset about. I'd listed them before. I don't know if you need me to list them out again, or we can go back to my previous answer. We jump to 291.
A return to production letter that we were discussing earlier.
Yes.
This is right around the time that letter was circulated. Is that right?
I don't recall, but perhaps.
Did Wayfair agree to meet these 17 conditions?
Ultimately, we signed the letter under duress with a caveat saying we didn't necessarily agree with it, but we signed the letter in order to get her back to work. But we had not done the things in the first place and continued to not do the things that were in the letter.
I will move to strike as non-responsive.
That was a response. He literally gave you an essay of a response. What are you talking about? Anyway.
My question was just whether Wayfair agreed to meet the 17 conditions. Yes or no?
We agreed to continue not to do the things we weren't doing.
That was one of my favorite answers. That's one of my favorite answers. We agreed to continue not to do the things we weren't doing. Oh,
he said, you want double
one.
negatives? He said, you want double negatives? I got it. You want oxymorons? I got it. Whatever you want, I got it, whichever way. We were not doing them in the first place, so signing it was really a no-brainer. But just to clarify, we're going to sign and agree to not do the things we're already not doing. Why would I not sign that? We agreed to continue not to do the things we weren't doing.
Was that letter of conditions something you considered to be sensitive?
Objection. Steve says, can you be more specific? We jump to 303. Ellen Garofalo says, I'm sure it is.
Let's look at the exhibit that you have in front of you, sir. Exhibit 12. Exhibit 12 is a document bearing the Bates numbers Sarwitz 80 through 82. It's a text exchange on January 5th, 2024. And this is a text change that appears to involve some of the same individuals as the exhibit we just looked at, I believe. But if you notice a difference, please tell me.
I don't.
Okay, so this is a text chain with some of the title at the top here. You see prayers and support. Is that the same title of the sort of text thread that we looked at Exhibit 11?
Yes.
On January 5th, 2024, did Mr. Baldoni reach out to you to discuss the meeting that had happened the day before on January 4th?
Can I have time to familiarize myself with this document?
Sure.
Thank you. I don't recall.
So you don't recall talking to Mr. Baldoni on or around January 5th about the meeting that happened in the apartment building with Miss Lively and Mr. Reynolds on January 4th?
I know we talked at some point in time. I don't know the exact date we talked.
Okay, you see at 6:35 p.m. on January 5th, Mr. Baldoni sends a somewhat lengthy text message, which is on the page Sarwitz 80, and then follows that up at 6:45 p.m. on the page Sarwitz 81.
Uh-huh.
Is the description that you see here generally consistent with any conversation you ever had with Mr. Baldoni where he described the meeting to you like this?
Objection. Steve responds, I don't recall.
Do you have any recollection of when the first time you learned about the January 4th, 2024 meeting?
I don't remember exactly when I learned about it. We jump to 311.
You had with Miss Ayub was before this occurred on September 27th, this conversation or after?
I don't recall.
Were you asked to have a call with Claire Ayub?
I know I did. I don't recall how it came up.
Does it seem like the kind of thing that you would have affirmatively reached out on your own to request?
She was coming to show her film at the theater. I don't recall how the call came about.
If we had your calendar from September or August of 2024, do you think we might find a Zoom meeting or meeting indication? Might we possibly find one with Miss Ayub?
Yes.
Do you recall knowing when you spoke to Miss Ayub that there had been any problems on the set of Empire Waste?
I want us to continue, but Bocce, I want us to pause real quick. And I've told my audience before, me and you have talked about this, but the first time we heard the Claire Ayub recording, one thing we agreed on, and I brought up, and instantly you're like, yes, that makes sense. There was nothing about the call, you guys, and this is going to sound like you've heard it before and I'm belaboring the point, but anybody who knows how a conversation is supposed to be held, anybody who's had a boss before, anybody who has somebody higher up than them, that conversation sounded nothing like Steve Sarowitz had any idea where that conversation was going to start or end. That man is busy. That man doesn't have 45 minutes to sit around, 40 minutes to sit around talking about what happened or may not have happened on the set of It Ends With Us with Claire Ayub of Empire Waste. It will be a waste of time. Pun definitely intended to have that conversation. So I don't believe for 1 second that Steve set up that meeting and Claire Ayub didn't walk in that conversation like, oh, hi, Steve. I'm so glad you wanted to talk. Like, is there what you want to talk about? She walked in and started the conversation, carried the conversation, and we did the math here. She carried over 68% of that conversation. So I don't know if your opinion have changed. I don't think it has, Bocce.
It has not.
I don't believe Steve set that conversation up.
Yeah, I mean, in any meeting that you've had, if the person is the one that calls the meeting, they set the agenda. And it was very clear that the only one that had an agenda, well, actually, that's maybe playing it loose because I don't think she knew where she was starting or ending either. But it was very clear that Steve Sarowitz, at least for myself, was not leading that.
Yeah.
He was there to listen to her. And he listened and listened and listened and listened.
Honestly, it really sounded like it wasn't even a business meeting. It sounded like Claire had called for like a catch up, like a hangout, like it was an uncle she was catching up with. And the conversation went 10 different routes before she realized
it
really went from, oh yeah, my friend who works at DeVry or DePaul or whatever university who can help you with, he's a billionaire. You think your friend at DePaul University is going to help him with his theater and bring students? Like that made no sense. That was such a nervous thing to say, to like take up space, to like elongate the conversation. Steve responds, I visited the set of Empire Waste and was not aware of any problems.
Okay.
But again, I don't run the day to day.
Okay, we're going to go AAO now. And we're going to mark as an exhibit the audio file that has the Bates number BL33428.
Stenographer says as exhibit 14.
So we will mark as Exhibit 14, the document produced in its native format, has the Bates number BL33428, and we're going to mark that. This is all you'll see with it. Exhibit 14 mark for identification. And before we start playing that, Mr. Sarowitz, we have produced in this litigation a recording of this call. Have you received that production, the call you have with Claire Ayub?
Yes.
Have you listened to it?
Yes.
Have you listened to all of it?
Yes.
And I assumed you have listened to all of it because you earlier mentioned you were seeking to have it de-designated. Is that right?
It was not my decision to designate it, but I am okay with that decision.
Okay, how many times have you listened to the call at this point in time?
Once.
All right. We're going to play just a little of it to ask you if this is the call. And then we'll stop and I will ask you some more questions. So why don't we start? Audio recording played during the deposition. All right, let's stop. Is that your voice that you just heard saying it's been a long few weeks?
Yes.
And was that the woman's voice speaking to you right before that, Miss Ayub's voice?
Yes.
And is that the recording of the call that we've been talking about here that I just played for you a small clip of?
Yes.
Do you know who Elise that was referred?
And we jumped to 319. And I think this is Steve here talking. And then later in that page, as read, they went after everything we had. Luckily, I was out of it. So like nobody mentioned me. That's because I'm a nobody with a couple $1 billion. Sorry. And in other words, referring to myself, I wasn't very important.
Okay. Thank you for that. How was Mr. Heath stopping what you viewed as the worst of the worst from coming out?
Objection from Ellen Garofalo. Steve responds, this is what our crisis PR people were working on, is stopping the public attacks on us, the ongoing everyday public attacks on us.
Okay, do you recall later in the conversation discussing with Miss Ayub what had happened on the set of It Ends With Us?
I don't think I could have because I wasn't on the set of It Ends With Us. But is there anything in a document which would talk about that?
You weren't there?
I was only there, as I mentioned briefly, for part of one day and just a few minutes on another. So I really wasn't on the set.
Would it surprise you to learn that when Miss Ayub said, as read, I wasn't there, so I don't know what it's like, your response was, I was?
Can you refer me to the page?
You don't have any recollection of saying to Miss Ayub, I was there on set?
Again, can you refer me to the page?
Pages 30 to 31.
Okay, just give me a second or two to read it and I will go through it as quickly as I can because I realize you're running short on time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
And you see that you make a reference to there being two different sets. And Miss Ayub says, as read, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know what it was like. And you say I was, right?
We jump to 334. As read, we will have to be defensive for years. It talks about, as read, there will be stuff coming at us. So I believe based on the context that this was very consistent with what I said before, that I would defend the studio. That's what I meant by that.
Do you understand the difference between defense and offense?
Objection from Ellen Garofalo. Steve responds, yes.
Aren't there? I mean, doesn't this go back to an earlier conversation we had about some of the tenets of your faith?
Objection from Ellen Garofalo.
This distinction between self-defense and retaliation.
Objection.
Let me try that a different way, sir.
Jump to page 352.
Is saying I will never ever let up going after you for the rest of my career something that you want your attorneys to say to reporters at news organizations?
Objection again from Ellen Garofalo. Steve responds, I don't know the context, so I can't comment on something I don't have the context. I don't know what was done. For example, in the course of this case, someone threatened my daughter's life. If I knew who did it, I would say something similar to that, even as a Baha'i, because we're not perfect human beings. There are things that are beyond the pale and people get angry. I'm sure you, like me, have a temper, and occasionally we say things that we might even regret. So I would like to know what the whole context is before I make comment on it. Do you have any more context on this you can give me?
I do not. Your attorneys do. Did you ever learn of anything horrific or terrible that Mr. Reese had done or said in public? Did you ever see anything that he said in?
And see.
Take a bow.
We're all going to take Wait,
what was that snarky little moment?
Like, I don't, your attorneys do?
Yeah. What is that snarkiness?
Oh, they're very snarky. I heard that. Go over to Bocce's page, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on her pages, and turn your notification on all our videos because our next video, Bocce, is going to be exciting. I guess we can give them a preview. It's really good. We're still trying to piece all the pieces together. And we're going to do a part 1 on our page, and a part 2 is going to end up on Bocce's page for the deep dive explanation of it all. So please make sure to subscribe to Bocce's channel when you have a chance. And I appreciate you guys for hanging out. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and definitely leave a comment. And we'll see you on the next one. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.